Atelier Yumia, The Alchemist of Memories and the Envisioned Land is already out on March 21st for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Hey everyone, what up? Matt Kaiser here, and special thanks to Koei Tecmo Europe for providing me a review code for PlayStation 5. And I'll be here to show you guys on what is possibly the most ambitious entry in the Atelier series to date, especially for a series that's been long running around 27 years now. And recently, it had made a bigger appeal and success thanks to the Riser, aka Secret Trilogy, with it bringing new fans and also selling over 2 million units. But what Yumia also brings to the table in both an Atelier and a JRPG is a lot, with having both the biggest budget out of the entire series, as well as offering a mature story with actual villains, splicing up the turn-based combat into a brand new direction, as well as adding a lot of new features and refinements with the alchemy into the mix. But before we begin, if you like what you're seeing here, then by all means, like the video, click the subscribe button if you're new, and hit the bell notification icon if you want more Atelier content from yours truly. With that said, let's get back to the video, and let's not waste any more time, so let's shoot with our gun, ride a motorcycle, and solve a mystery as we head straight into Atelier Yumia, The Alchemist of Memories, and the Envisioned Land. So our story follows Yumia Leisfeld, the titular heroine, an upcoming alchemist in the making, who comes from a long line of alchemists, including her own mother. However, alchemy in this world is deemed as taboo and evil by the general public, as 3 years ago, an event that involved alchemy caused a huge minor disaster that even took down the entire continent of the Aldous Empire, and even lost her mother in the process. And so, Yumia and her trusted device Flami take up on joining the research investigation team to find out what really happened at that event, but also to restore good faith of alchemy as a whole. While along this investigation, she will encounter new allies with their own motives of joining this investigation, as well as also antagonists who oppose them. And that's the general story. And overall, I think it was a really good narrative, with it having both an intriguing hook to learn the mystery surrounding the world, as well as the convictions of Yumia, of what she has to go through to not only show that alchemy isn't one to be feared by, but also to learn the truth, even if the truth is an ugly one at that. There's just lots of strong world building here on how alchemy is depicted, as well as the various races, which overall makes the world of Atelier Yumia feel very immersive, among also the game tackling some very strong subject matter, like things like abandonment, experimentation, and trauma. Now, while it does become a little bit of a slow burn after the rather amazing flash-forward cutscene intro, it does pay off the more you further progress through. Though I think what really helps with the story will have to be the very amazing cast of characters. This is a field that Atelier games usually excel in, and Yumia is no exception here, with each of them being very likable, as well as having their own distinct personalities, as well as motivations of joining the whole investigation, and they each bounce off together as well. Yumia herself is an amazing protagonist, who's both bubbly, knowledgeable, and brave, but also struggles and even has doubts with her own main objective, especially when her notions is challenged by both her comrades as well as the villains themselves. She overall has a compelling character arc that you can easily root for. And the same can also be said for Isla and Victor, the former who's also bubbly and more like a sister type to Yumia, but is also very ecstatic and also very sassy as a result. But she's also vulnerable. And then you also have the latter, who at first might be a bit standoffish, but later down the line grows and becomes more receptive, especially in regards to Yumia's works. And they both have their own vendetta and trauma. Then you have Rutger, who, while may be a rebel and a bit of a delinquent, he's very cool, knowledgeable, and even has a very tragic backstory. And the same can be said for Nina, who is quick and knowledgeable, as well as also having a very disturbing backstory. And lastly, you have Lenya, who's both flawed and afraid, but also so damn cute, and you can't help but root for her when she's trying to do the right thing. The side characters like say Erhard, Cledia were all pretty good. The villains themselves are very enjoyable as decent foils, but I think they overall could have had much better presence in the overall story, with the only exception being the werewolf being voiced by Dio here. Voice acting alone is actually pretty superb in general, even if it's all in Japanese, but even then, the voice actors in this are really super talented. Now we get on to the visuals, and man, does this game look absolutely gorgeous. You can definitely tell that this game is a huge step up from the Rise series, in terms of visuals, with having lots of beautiful and colorful environments, biomes and monsters. That huge budget really paid off big time, especially when you come across the character designs, and all of them look straight up amazing, especially Yumia and her, well, delicious cake, anyone? Anywho, the same also goes with everyone else, especially Rutger and Nina, with her very two big weapons. I think I dodged a bullet over there. Quite literally. No, not the thing. Anyway, again, this game really looks damn good, especially with the opening, as well as having these amazingly mocap choreographed fight scenes. And heck, even these adorable 2D flashbacks just look absolutely amazing. As in terms of performance, especially on PS5, I was able to run this on a very consistent 60 FPS, both in exploration and combat, and overall made the experience silky smooth in a sense. Minus a few loading times here and there, the overall experience just felt seamless. That being said, there was a little bit of unpolished stuff when I played this I got the code, and that mostly came to the bugs, as I did come across 2 random crashes and one instance when an enemy was clipping through the rocks. My experience wasn't as bad as many of others pointed out, especially when I played it on PC and Switch, but it's something to be aware of, and it's something I do hope that Koei Tecmo and Gus do patch issues like those. But at the time of this review, it does seem that Koei Tecmo and Gus are indeed patching some of those issues that other reviewers had. Now we get on to the combat. Now, like a lot of JRPGs, combat usually starts on the field, though you do have the option to shoot at an enemy to stun them to begin a more preemptive strike, which is pretty cool. From there you can go straight into the combat seamlessly, and now we get into what the actual combat is. So past Atelier entries would have, straight up turn-based combat, and it was only until the Rise series that offered more real-time elements in it. And also Fairy Tail 2, I guess. However, Yumia takes that step further, with the action elements being cranked all the way up to 11, while having a little bit of tactical elements in the mix. Being able to move freely with using various commands and skills to chain them with a limit on showing how many you can use till they go into a cool down or recharge. You also have the option to now attack in either close combat or long range distance, depending on the enemy that they are facing. Attacks will change depending on the attack zone the character is in, explaining the range of strategies possible from taking down any opponents. You can have 6 party members to form, with 3 active members being in the front line, and the other 3 in back as support. They can freely switch between characters depending on the situation in battle. You also have the option to block the reducing damage, or time it well to negate it, but also dodge against incoming enemy attacks, especially AoE attacks, which will provide a perfect dodge with iframes. And from there you can perform a precision counter, allowing you to switch between any party member and do a follow-up attack that will induce status ailments. Enemies will also have a weakness meter based on what range attacks are vulnerable by, and once that's afflicted, they'll be prompted enough for you to use a combat item and do a friend action that will involve a nearby party member to do a team attack. There's also the mana surge, where items during combat, players will accumulate environmental mana in a gauge, and once that gauge is full, players can activate Mana Surge to increase their character's skills. The normal skills will be replaced by Surge skills, and players will be able to use the ultimate maximized Mana Surge attack to deliver a especially powerful super move to their opponents. However, players will need to also keep a close eye on that environmental mana gauge, as once it's depleted, using that Mana Surge can drain the character's health and gradually making them unfit for combat. Characters can also have passive skills to equip, which adds another flavor of build potential. The combat itself is really good, and it's actually really cool to see some real-time action and overall technical elements. And it kind of reminds me of an action RPG, and even aspects of games like say Xenoblade Chronicles and even Final Fantasy VII Remake. It all in all makes for a really engaging combat system that's both chaotic, fun, but can still be strategic, and think of the best ways to encounter foes, without having to feel, cheap or unfair. Even if early encounters themselves do feel a bit on the easy side, though later down the line they do provide a good amount of tough encounters, especially the bosses. Even if there are only like a few bosses, well, notable ones at that, and some of them do actually provide an actual challenge, especially towards the end game. Even if some can use a little bit of balancing in my opinion. But other than that, and also there was like a weird input delay, especially when you switch between stances, it overall makes a pretty good combat system. Also, straight up, Nina has needles that feel straight out of Halo. Just saying.
I'm here to report that there's this guy named Rick. And I kid you not, he turns himself into a pickle. I
kinda cringe. Now moving on to exploration. Just like with Atelier Rise of 3, Yumia goes for a more big full-on open zone, with having lots of interconnected areas, from the various regions, to camps, to ruins, to forests, to mountains, to caves. The whole shebang is right here. And all of them feel very seamless, which is very impressive from this game. From there, you'll be able to gather lots of items, fight against monsters, come across various landmarks like shrines that involve puzzles, fast travel points, and some that will even drain your energy core, which alone is essential, especially when you're making alchemy, as well as protecting you from taking too much fall damage. And should you lose all the energy, you'll be handicapped during battle. Later down the line, especially when you reach the second region, you will have access through the bike, which allows you to travel the world much faster and shield you from taking damage. And yes, you can use the gun while on the bike. All in all, Yumia's world is a lot of fun to traverse through, even helped with, Yumia's rocket heels bouncing off mountains to climb through huge impressive heights, as well as repairing landmarks, as well as finding treasure chests and various runes that just overall makes a very solid gameplay loop. Even if some of the puzzles do leave a lot to be desired. And also, I'm not gonna lie, I really wasn't into the slow crawling sections that the game provides. Oh, and did I mention that Yumia carries a gun?
Aw, she's so f***ing cute! Oh shit, she's packing heat!
Now of course, it wouldn't be an Atelier game without the crafting and alchemy systems. Now using mana and ingredients, Yumia herself can perform alchemy to create more powerful items, tools and equipment. Each item would possess 3 alchemy cores, all of which will help determine the precise parameters of the item, from things like traits, quality and effect. By leveling up recipes, players are able to gradually be able to unlock 2 extra alchemy cores for additional effects, by providing them mana from core ingredients. And once the alchemy cores have been activated, the synthesis can continue. And not only that, but they also can provide ingredients to the alchemy slots that will generate resonance areas. And when the alchemy slots and alchemy cores are within the resonance area, the finished product is enhanced. And during the synthesis, players will be able to find and see mana floating in the air, known as drifting mana. And by including it, as well as the resonance area of the ingredients, players can also acquire mana. Not only that, but you also have access to recipe recalls, to make new recipes which will cost energy particles. as well as traits that infuse trait crystals. Now, just like with prior Atelier games, I found the overall crafting to be very addicting to pull off, and also quite simple to learn as well. Now there's also of course an auto add ingredients if you want to speed up the process to make it less repetitive, but I wouldn't really recommend it. And if you're very patient and dedicated enough to engage with the system, you have the potential to craft some really powerful stuff. But also new to Atelier would have to be the building mechanic, where you can build and customize your own workshop from either scratch or even use a pre-build. A lot of them just for fun and customization, while most of the materials like say workbench, recipe recall, which especially makes those recipes with the materials required like say energy particles, being the essential parts you need. It's pretty neat in the grand scheme of things, though in my opinion, a lot of it could have been better handled, as especially when you're trying to, put and build lots of things and clip them together, and it just feels like very awkward as a result, especially with the camera and the controls. It does very feel janky, and I do hope in the future, if they are going to do like follow-ups to this game, that they bring this mechanic back and really fine-tune the controls for it. But overall, it's pretty okay. Just could have been a little bit more better in my opinion. When it comes to the music, well, Atelier OSTs always are beautiful to listen through, with lots of having calming and relaxing themes when chilling around your atelier and buildings, and the same can be said for the area themes, and especially the battle themes here, which absolutely slap, and Yumia herself is no exception to that. And as always, let's have a quick sample of some really amazing tracks here. Now we get on to the content. So Atelier Yumia has lots of things to go over, from things like having multiple dialogue options that will lead to different outcomes, including the side quests and the overall story itself, though thankfully it will never lead you to locking you out of an important item or event. There's also things like the various quests, ranging from your typical NPC fetch quests, which as well as the character quests, where you get to learn a little bit more about the cast, and random quests which are triggered throughout the area and let you do things from solving puzzles involving the prayer shrines or killing raiding monsters. There's also things like fishing, cooking via camping, which lets you bond with the cast, as well as photo mode, which obviously is a plus in my book, and you also have the pioneering effect, which is essentially a checklist of objectives to do. A standard run can take you, depending on how long you do, around 35 to 50 hours, but if you do everything, you can get around maybe 80 hours of content. And before you ask, there's no deadline or time limit mechanic present whatsoever, so you're free to able to do whatever you want without any harsh consequences. Clearing the game itself will unlock you in harder difficulty, as well as New Game Plus, where your items, equipment, and skills transfer over. Also, side note, there are 2 upcoming collabs involving Tales of Grace's F from Bandai Namco, where Yumia can wear as Bellan's iconic costume in the game, as well as an upcoming Tekken 8 collab, where you'll get items, costumes, and new skills based on that game. And honestly, I think it's pretty neat. How is Atelier Yumia, the Alchemist of Memories and Envisioned Land? Well, simply put, it's actually amazing, and definitely a strong JRPG outing for this year, let alone coming from Koei Tecmo. The visuals are amazing, the characters and overall story was fantastic, exploration was really addicting on top of the new synthesis, and the combat is both flashy and amazing, as well as the music is very stellar. Now sure, it has its fair share of issues, especially with some bugs, as well as some few oddities that makes itself feel a little bit jank, and the price itself can be a little bit steep for a game like this. Unless of course you're playing on this on the Switch, but then again, I also heard it's very rough. But outside of that, this is essentially what Atelier is, at its very, very most ambitious. And I think overall, it stuck the landing quite well, and does set a way for a brand new generation of Atelier games, as well as a new direction. And if you're new to the series, or just fan of JRPGs in general, I think this game is a really great starting point, as it still has that Atelier flair that the series is known for, while still having some new exciting elements that I think would be up your alley. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to see where the series will go next, whether it's a direct sequel or a follow-up that takes place in the same universe. Though we also have another Atelier release to look forward to that potentially might be on the more traditional side, which I'm also looking forward to as well. And given on how Koei Tecmo themselves has been on a roll this year with things like Dynasty Warriors Origins and the upcoming Ninja Gaiden 4 and now this, honestly, this is their year. Overall, I'll give Atelier Yumia 4 out of 5 flammies. Anyway guys, thank you guys so much for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of this game. With that, let me know down in the comments if you are playing this game and what do you think of it so far. Are you enjoying it? And I also got some other videos I've uploaded recently about Atelier Yumia. One for a beginner's guide and one on how to unlock the bike very early. With that said, until then, Mad Kaiser out.